Morning, guys. Welcome to this morning, Friday morning's trending. You've just got me today, but we're okay because Donald Trump is bringing back religion in the US and eventually the world over because it is a global death cult. So remember, though, you can get your coffee, and this show is sponsored by Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com. Use the code trending for 10% off. So, as I said there, Donald Trump is bringing back religion. There's many connotations to what this is about. People listening to him, especially his followers, would think that's the Christian religion. We know better. This is something that he's talking about in terms of bringing back another religion, but Christianity is set to rise, then to fall again in terms with the biblical text. And that's probably too deep to go into right now. But let's have a look at this clip where he talks about bringing back religion across the United States.
We're bringing back religion in our country, and we're bringing it back quickly and strongly. Because for America to be a great nation, we must always be one nation under God, a phrase that they would like to get rid of, the radical left. But Ben, I don't think we're going to let them get rid of that, right? We're not letting them get rid of that. I want to thank a man of incredible faith who's with us, Speaker Mike Johnson, for being here. He's done an incredible job. Thank you, Mike, very much. We're working very hard on a great, big, beautiful bill, and we're trying to come up with a name. And I said, why don't we just call it the Great, Big, Beautiful Bill? That's what everyone, so we're going to probably do that because everyone knows what it means.
So he says there, we're bringing back religion in our country and we're bringing it back quickly and strong. Now, first you'll see the rise of Christianity, and then you will see it fall again, because really what he's talking about is this Kabbalistic death cult that's based on Lurianic Kabbalah. And he openly speaks about a chap called Mike Johnson there. So let's have a look at Speaker Mike Johnson. He thanks Mike Johnson for the help of bringing back this religion to the United States that most people would think was Christianity, but in a long term, this is going to turn out to be Jewish mysticism. US House Speaker reiterates ironclad support to Israel. Doesn't sound good for Christianity, does it? Mike Johnson, Israeli Premier Netanyahu meet at US Capitol Hill, to discuss US-Israel partnership. And so this isn't from that long ago. Washington. US Speaker Mike Johnson on Friday reiterated his steadfast commitment to the US-Israel partnership. It's the other way around. It's the Israel-US partnership. It's not a partnership. Unfortunately, the government of Israel run the government of the United States by the looks of it. There's plenty of evidence to support that. So our support for Israel remains ironclad, Johnson told reporters after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister and wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu at the US Capitol. Johnson said he and Netanyahu discussed the special partnership between the two countries. He said, I thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his unrelenting commitment to making the region and the world a safer place and really extraordinary challenges, said Johnson. What Israel has done in the past 7 months, now that is really, really important. As we go into on this show, we go to different levels that most news shows would never pick up on. 7. They always use the coding of 7. It's the 7 days or 6 days of creation. The 7th day is the Sabbath and the rest. They'll always talk about the 7. It's the 7 Noahide laws. So they put this coding in to the articles. Whether the writer of this article knows that themselves, who knows? But the editor would certainly know that this is all coding. So let me just go back to that again. So he says, what Israel has done in the past 7 months really is a testament to what can be accomplished when we do not let the enemy set the rules. Who's the enemy? We're the enemy, the West. So this is such an inversion in my point of view from all the research I've been doing for 15 plus years now. This is talking about the cult, and they've dressed it up as propping up Christianity, which you will see for a little while, but that's supposed to fall. I think in the biblical text it says that Rome will fall. So it falls twice. So President Donald Trump and Netanyahu both understand that peace is secured through strength, not appeasement, war, basically, and not by turning our back on our allies. Johnson said. Netanyahu, for his part, said Trump's critical decisions, including renewing supply of powers and signing executive orders to impose sanctions on the International Criminal Court, the ICC, which want Netanyahu as a war criminal, shows the US commitment to Israel. So basically, they're telling you there that they serve Israel, and Israel, not the people of Israel, this Zionist Sabbatean cult that sits behind Israel and uses the Jewish faith as a shield. It's Jewish mysticism, and then it's even a twisting of that. It's the Lurianic Kabbalah, which fits right in with Sabbatean Frankism, which is really where the root of this messianic agenda is. And Mike Johnson's massively part of that, and so is Donald Trump, so is Netanyahu, so is Putin, and many, many others. So we need to really watch what he says there in terms of what he really means. And he's not talking about Christianity in the long term. He's talking about this Sabbatean Frankist inverted cult. And this is something that the likes of David Icke have been pointing out for a long time. Christopher John Bjertness has done fantastic work in talking about the following of the narrative and how these people are taking on and assuming character roles here. His work at cjbbooks.com is well worth looking into. This is all part of an agenda that fits in with the transhumanist agenda, and it has nothing to do with propping up Christianity in the long run. These are Sabbateans. They go in to a religion, to an organization, to any outfit, and they change it from within. So the one that you've signed up for in the first place gradually becomes something else from the inside. It's a virus. That's why they're called Sabbateans. They sabotage everything from within, including the Jesuits, including the Vatican, including the CIA, Mossad. All of these things have different factions within them. So you can't just pick on the actual entity itself and say that's the problem, because it's a faction within a faction. And this goes back into the understanding of something called the Kelipot in Kabbalistic terms, which is a shell and a husk that they say hides and protects, but also traps at the same time the spark of divinity within every one of these 600,000 souls. It's very deep Kabbalistic stuff. Not all Kabbalists think this way. Again, there's different versions of this, but the Lurianic Kabbalah is massively behind these people. And Mike Johnson will be part of that. And the fact that they've used the term seven there indicates to me, at least, that they know exactly what they're talking about. And it has nothing to do with helping the US. So our second story here. So a second Italian journalist allegedly targeted with mercenary spyware. Wonder where that mercenary spyware was created. So Ciro Pellegrino of Fanpage, who has been critical of Maloney government, says notification provoked horrible feelings. So we got notification that he had been basically spied upon by this software. A second Italian journalist whose news organization exposed young fascists within the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's far-right party was targeted with sophisticated mercenary spyware, according to an Apple notification received by the reporter, which is interesting because Apple, with a bite out of the apple, is the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. Ciro Pellegrani is the second reporter at the investigative news outlet Fanpage to fall victim to an alleged spyware attack after his editor-in-chief, Francesco Cancellato, was also targeted. Cancellato revealed in January that he had received a notification that he had been targeted with software produced by the Israeli-based Paragon Solutions. And now this is where it's really important. A company that had a client relationship with the Italian government at the time. So this Paragon Solutions, I decided to look into these guys. Who are these guys that are spying on the technology of journalists and interfering with these journalists' ability to report on what they shouldn't be doing, really? Well, who was behind that? There's a chap called Uda Barak, was the former Prime Minister of Israel. Uda Barak met with Jeffrey Epstein dozens of times and flew on private plane. Report. This is the guy that co-founded with others this software here that these guys are trying to battle off, this Paragon software, solution software. So he co-founded that with some other people as well, but he also flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane and met with him several times. Not just several times. Former Prime Minister visited disgraced financer and child abuser about 30 times from 2013 to 2017. Now, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of his first sexual abuse crime in 2008. So he was already a convicted child abuser at that time for soliciting, I think it was a young girl for prostitution, a child. So, including 2014, he also went on his private flight to Florida. Former Prime Minister Uda Barak met with the late disgraced financier and child sex abuser Jeffrey Epstein dozens of times beginning in 2013, according to a new report on Wednesday by the Wall Street Journal. Barak was among the list of Jewish names, including pioneering linguist and left-wing activist Noam Chomsky, longtime Bard colleague President Leon Bostein, and filmmaker Woody Allen. Woody Allen's got some very, very strange connections to himself and background as well, very dark. Now, they say Jewish here. I would interpret that as Sabbaty and Frankists. Again, they're using the Jewish faith. 99.9% of those of the Jewish faith have no idea about any of this stuff and don't believe in any of this stuff at all. So they're hiding behind that. They're using it as a shield, a red shield, you could say. So he basically met with Jeffrey Epstein many, many times. Epstein met with thousands of people over his career, and the presence of their names does not in itself indicate any evidence of misdeeds. No, it absolutely doesn't. Of course it doesn't. But when you are the minister and you are meeting with someone who you know is not wanted, a convicted child abuser, then that has serious repercussions. Of course it does. And not just once or twice. Even then, that would be bad enough because you clearly know that stuff. 30 plus times. According to the WJS, so the Wall Street Journal's Wednesday report on the calendar's contents, Barak visited Epstein about 30 times between 2013 and 2017 at his estates in Florida and New York. New York is pivotal to this cult, including a time in 2014 when the former Israeli premier flew with Epstein on his private aircraft from Palm Beach to Tampa, Florida, after which Epstein went on to New York. Barak said his wife and an Israeli security guard were also on that flight. He said he flew with Epstein on his private planes on one other occasion, also with his wife and guards. According to the report, Barak also met with Epstein monthly for nearly a year. And people say that he wasn't a Mossad agent. What do you think he was passing over? Beginning in December 2015. So when we get back to the original story, these Paragon Solutions, this is the guy that helped found that software that they're now spying on journalists with. And all that data, where do you think it's going to? Companies like Palantir to build this system that is going to be this Orwellian Big Brother system. It's a very important company to look into, Paragon Solutions. It was started again with this guy, and this guy, Uda Barak, I believe he was also one of the leading figures in the 8200 Israeli military, basically sit online and harass people arm. Very interesting story. All lead back to the same situation cult, don't they? Another one to be worried about. These stories keep coming out now. We've had all of these blackouts in Europe as well, these hacking. Harrods is latest retailer to be hit by cyber attack. So we're seeing all this thing come in. So the back end of this, remember, they offer the problem and or create the problem, get the reaction, and offer the solution. So luxury department store is forced to shut some systems, but website and shops continue to operate. Harrods has been hit by a cyber attack just days after Marks and Spencers and the Co-op were targeted. The luxury department store is understood to have been forced to shut down systems, but said its website and all stores, including the Knightsbridge flagship, H Beauty, and airport outlets, continue to operate. It is understood that the retailer first realised it was being targeted earlier this week. So we have this targeting through the internet, through these systems. Paragon Solutions not involved in this one, but seeing this narrative playing out right now. And that's worrying. But also their system is being the information is being put out there for people to consume and react to, and the reaction would be, we need more security, we need more data security, and the only way to get more security is to give away more privacy. You can see that happening. This smart grid is easing its way in, but they need to have reason to implement it. This is always what they do. So Were these attacks coming from the same people, the same companies, corporations, ideologies that really want to implement these new technologies in people's homes? Call me a conspiracy theorist, but that's a possibility, isn't it? The retailer said it was not asking customers to take any action, indicating that it did not suspect data had been accessed. It added, "We will continue to provide updates as necessary." The problems at Harrods, first reported by Sky News, emerged as Marks and Spencer's continued to battle problems caused by a cyber incident that has been linked to the hacking collective Scattered Spider. That's new to me. We're going to have to look into that one. More than 650 million has been wiped off the stock market value of the company as its websites have been forced to stop orders for almost a week. There are also gaps on shelves in stores as the company's automatic stock systems are not working. This shows the issues that you would have by relying on artificial intelligence and technology when something goes wrong. They're kind of saying the whole toilet roll situation during COVID, where no one had anything to wipe their bum on for a little while. What happened there when people panic and when systems go down? So if system goes down, things don't get to the store. Then you can't have the goods that you actually need. Now, I'm not saying Harrods are essential goods. £50 for a toilet roll probably, but you can see the kind of scare tactic there is that these systems, if they're hacked, they can fall, and that's a logical, true outcome to what could happen. So, what do we need? More security, more surveillance, more data protection. And it's bizarre, but the only way to get that data protection is to hand all your data over and allow companies like Palantir to see everything everybody's doing all the time. You can see the narrative speeding up. And what does that play into? The overall death cult's ability to watch everyone under one system, one time, collective hive mind, everyone connected to the smart grid. And as absurd as that sounds, and we know it sounds absurd, this is the way it's continually heading. Now, that system will only play into a one world government, one world corporation, as I call it, agenda, which is what we're going to have, a one world corporation, if we don't start to realize that these people are putting these things in place and they're just leading everyone with a carrot and a stick down to the same ending. And these, in my opinion, in my research, and maybe you guys have done other research and see it a different way, are these Sabbatean Frankists at they're not at the top. I would say the black nobility are far beyond that, but who knows really who's pulling the strings? We don't know. It's the Wizard of Oz, isn't it? It's over the rainbow. But everything does connect together. But we can end it on some nice news this week. British woman becomes world's oldest person. Imagine living this long. And actually, I've been looking to lately the documentary that we're working on at the moment for Iconic is called I Am Immortal. And it talks about the obsession this cult has with becoming immortal and androgynous at the same time, and why that is, and what techniques they're putting out there, and what technologies are out there, cryogenics, and all of these systems of rewards and punishments in a future life. Very interesting subject. So this does fit in a way, but this is a nice element of it. British woman becomes oldest woman, becomes world's oldest woman, sorry. She's 115 years old. 115, bless her. A woman from the UK has become the oldest person in the world at the age of 115 and 252 days. Ethel, love that name, Ethel, Caterham, who lives at a care home in Lightwater, Surrey, reached a milestone following the death of Brazilian nun Sister Anne Canabro Lucas. And she was aged 116 on Wednesday, so she passed, but she was 116, and this lady is only a year behind her. Miss Caterham was born on the 21st of August 1909 and is the last surviving subject of Edward the Seventh. So she saw both world wars. That is incredible. Celebrating her 115th birthday in August of 2024, she said she didn't know why there was all the fuss. She said the secret to her longevity was never arguing with anyone. I listen and do what I like. So what she's saying is, look, she just doesn't bother arguing back. She just does what she likes anyway. Probably a good bit of advice there. Don't worry about them. Don't waste your energy on them. She stored her energy for 115 years and she's still with us. The new record has been confirmed by the Guinness World Records and LongeviQuest, a database for the world's oldest people. It's a remarkable milestone. On her 150th birthday, Miss Catherine received a letter from the King congratulating her on a truly remarkable milestone. The King conveyed his warmest good wishes and hoped that Ethel enjoys her incredibly special day. The letter stated that His Majesty was heartened to learn about Ethel's fascinating personal history. Miss Catherine was born in Shipton Bellinger in Hampshire and was raised in nearby Tidworth in Wiltshire. She was the second youngest of 8 children. At the age of 18, she was employed as an au pair to a military family in India. She returned to the UK in 1931 and met her future husband, Norman Catterham. They married at Salisbury Cathedral in 1933. And she's lived all through this, and now she has the internet, and she probably thinks, what in the world is this? She lived through the sinking of the Titanic. I don't think she was there. World War One, the Russian Revolution, and the Great Depression, and World War Two. It sounds like they're blaming her for all those things. She has spent the last 50 years living in Surrey and continued driving until she was 97. 97 years old, she was still driving. Wow. One of her sisters, Gladys, lived to be 104. There must be something in the water. She has 3 granddaughters and 5 great-grandchildren. That's just really sweet. So there's a lively way to end the show this week with all the horrible stuff that we spoke about before. 115 years old. Now we know that these guys in the cult want to try and live forever in their strange white cube that will come down from Zion and be their new world order, their world to come, the Olam Haba. But this lady's managed to do it organically, and her sister. So maybe they have a secret that we don't know. 115, and I think I said her sister was 107, maybe. Absolutely amazing. So, guys, thank you for watching and sticking with me for today's show. You can support the show, and today's show was sponsored by Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING for 10% off. We will see you next week on Tuesday. I think the boys will be back, and I'll be back with you next Wednesday. Have a lovely, elongated, lovely word, weekend, and I will see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.